The life and sad ending of George Strait. George Strait was born George Harvey Strait Sr. on May 18, 1952, in Poteet, Texas, U.S. When George was in the 4th grade, his father and mother were divorced, and his mother moved away with his sister, Penny. George and his brother John Jr. were raised by their father. Strait began his musical interest while attending Pearsall High School, where he played in a rock and roll garage band. The Beatles were popular when Strait was in high school. The Beatles were big, Strait confirmed. His musical preference soon turned to country with singers Hank Thompson, Lefty Frizzle, Merle Haggard, George Jones, Bob Wills, Hank Williams, and Frank Sinatra influencing his style. Strait did not tune to the country music radio often as a youth, usually listening to the news and the Farmer's Report. His introduction to country music came mostly by way of live performances, which, according to Strait, could be heard in every town in Texas. Strait eloped in Mexico with his high school sweetheart Norma in December 1971. Their first child, Jennifer, was born on October 6, 1972. Their son, George Strait Jr., known as Bubba, was born in 1981. After Strait was honorably discharged from the Army in 1975, he enrolled at Southwest Texas State University in San Marcos and graduated with a degree in agriculture. Strait was also presented an honorary doctoral degree by his alma mater, Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas, in a private ceremony on Friday, May 26, 2006. He is a loyal alumnus of Texas State, and in 1985, established an endowment fund for the development and operation of the Freeman Ranch for agricultural, land, and wildlife management, and scholarships. During his college years, Strait joined the country band. Soon, his band was given the opportunity to record several Strait-penned singles, including That Don't Change the Way I Feel About You and I Can't Go On Dying Like This for the Houston-based D label. However, the songs never achieved wide recognition, and Strait continued to manage his family cattle ranch during the day to make some extra cash. In the spring of 1981, Strait released his first single for MCA Records, titled Unwound, which climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart that year and was included on his debut album Strait Country. The record featured 2 more singles including Down and Out, a number 16 hit for Strait, and If You're Thinking You Want a Stranger. Strait Country was hailed by critics as a traditionalist breakthrough that broke the trend of pop-influenced country prevalent at the time. In 1982 saw the release of Strait's second album, the critically acclaimed Straight from the Heart, which featured the first number 1 single of his career, Fool-Hearted Memory, and the top 5 Amarillo by Morning, originally sung and written by Terry Stafford in 1973. In 1983, Strait made his first appearance at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, when the headlining star, Eddie Rabbitt, came down sick with the flu. Performing at that rodeo has since become a mainstay throughout his career, making more than 20 appearances at the rodeo, and playing to a total of more than 1 million fans. Strait recorded 17 subsequent number 1s in the decade, including a string of 5 that lasted from 1983 to 1984 from his next 2 albums Right or Wrong, his first number 1 album, and the CMA award-winning Does Fort Worth Ever Cross Your Mind? The next year, he won the CMA Award for Top Male Vocalist and released his first Greatest Hits compilation, which featured songs from his first 3 albums. Also in 1985, Strait released Something Special, the third straight number 1 album of his career, featuring the number 1 single The Chair. In 1986, Strait repeated as the CMA Vocalist of the Year and released his 4th number 1 album 7. Strait and his family were struck with tragedy when his 13-year-old daughter, Jennifer, was killed in a 1-car, alcohol-unrelated accident in 1986. She was riding in a Ford Mustang driven by Gregory Wilson Allen, 18, of Staples, Texas. Allen was subsequently charged with a Class A misdemeanor for vehicular homicide. His grief did not hinder his performance, however, or his output, as he went on to release 11 straight #1 hits, starting with Nobody in His Right Mind Would Have Left Her in 1986 and ending with Ace in the Hole in 1989. The singles spanned 4 albums, including 7, Oceanfront Property in 1987, If You Ain't Lovin' You Ain't Livin' in 1988, and 1989's Beyond the Blue Neon, all of which reached the #1 spot on country album charts. Oceanfront Property was the first country album to ever debut at #1 on the charts by any artist. The streak included such songs as Oceanfront Property, All My Exes Live in Texas, Famous Last Words of a Fool, and Baby Blue. Strait finished the decade by winning the CMA Entertainer of the Year award in 1989. 1 year later, he won the award again. Strait began the decade with the release of his 10th studio album, Livin' It Up, which featured 2 #1 hits, including Love Without End, Amen, his first multi-week hit, and I've Come to Expect It From You. Both songs remained first for 5 weeks in 1990. The Chill of an Early Fall shortly followed in 1991 and received positive reviews. Entertainment Weekly noted that the album marked a shift for Strait from repeating himself in his previous works to producing different material. It produced the #1 songs If I Know Me and You Know Me Better Than That, but ended his streak of 31 straight top 10 hits with the cover of Lovesick Blues, which peaked at #24. The record blocked his run of 8 top charting albums with its peak of #4. In the spring of 1992, Holding My Own was released. It did not produce any #1s, but did include 2 top 5 songs, including So Much Like My Dad. Later in 1992, Strait played the main character in the film Pure Country and released the film's soundtrack. It was his most successful studio album, producing such hits as Heartland, I Cross My Heart, and When Did You Stop Loving Me, and peaked at #1 and #6 respectively on the country and Billboard 200 album charts. The success continued with his next album, Easy Come, Easy Go in 1993, which reached the top 5 on the Billboard 200 and featured the hits I'd Like to Have That One Back, The Man in Love with You, and the #1 title track. His next 4 albums, including Led On in 1994, Blue Clear Sky in 1996, Carrying Your Love With Me in 1997, and 1998's One Step at a Time, all charted at #1, with Blue Clear Sky claiming the spot on its debut week, and Carrying Your Love With Me peaking at #1 on the Billboard 200 for the first time in Strait's career. This series of albums produced 8 #1 singles for Strait, including You Can't Make a Heart Love Somebody, Carried Away, One Night at a Time, and I Just Want to Dance with You. During this period, Strait also released a 4-disc, box set career retrospective, Straight Out of the Box, in 1995, which became the second best-selling box set ever with shipments of 8 million in the United States. He was named as the CMA's top male vocalist in 1997 and 1998. Strait completed the decade with the album Always Never the Same in 1999, which peaked at #2 on country charts and matched the crossover success of Pure Country by reaching #6 on the Billboard 200. The record produced the hits What Do You Say to That, Meanwhile, and the #1 Write This Down. All in all, Strait scored 17 #1 hits on the Billboard Country Airplay charts in the decade and carried his successes into the next century. In May 2001, The Road Less Traveled was released. 3 singles were released from it, 2 of which reached #1, including Shall Leave You with a Smile, his 50th on combined charts, and Living Well, both of which reached the top 30 of Billboard Hot 100, with the former peaking at #23, Strait's highest rank on the chart. The single run peaked at #2 and reached #34 on the Billboard 100. Strait released 2 records in 2003. For the Last Time, Live from the Astrodome was a recording of the last Houston livestock show and rodeo to take place in the Astrodome. The next year, Somewhere Down in Texas arrived, which produced the hit You'll Be There, marking Strait's first appearance on the adult contemporary chart. On October 3, 2006, Strait marked his 30th year in the music industry with the release of a new album titled It Just Comes Natural. The album was recorded in Key West, Florida, in Jimmy Buffett's Shrimp Boat Sound Studio. In 2007, Wrapped reached #1 on the Mediabase country music charts, giving Strait his 55th overall #1 single. From January through April of that year, Strait headlined a 23-date arena tour with country music legend Ronnie Milsap and then newcomer Taylor Swift. He released a new album titled Troubadour on April 1, 2008. The CD contained 12 tracks, including a duet with Patty Loveless and another with longtime songwriter Dean Dillon. The lead single from the album, I Saw God Today, debuted at number 19 on the radio and records and Billboard charts. It is the highest debut ever for a single from Strait and the 4th highest debut for a song in country music history. Troubadour debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top 200 album charts, selling over 160,000 copies in its first week of release. River of Love, the 3rd single from the album, became his 57th #1 song in 2009. In 2010, Billboard ranked Strait #1 in the top 25 country artists of the past 25 years. On September 6, 2011, Strait released the album, Here for a Good Time, which yielded 2 #1 singles, Here for a Good Time and Love's Gonna Make It All Right. I Believe reached number 50 on the U.S. Country Airplay chart, making it Strait's first single to miss the top 40. Strait won the 2013 CMA Entertainer of the Year award. In 2016, Strait was selected as one of 30 artists to perform on Forever Country, for a mashup track of Take Me Home, Country Roads, On the Road Again, and I Will Always Love You, which celebrates 50 years of the CMA Awards. On June 25, 2019, the New York Times Magazine listed George Strait among hundreds of artists whose material was reportedly destroyed in the 2008 Universal fire. George Strait: the most regretful thing of his life is not being able to care for his 13-year-old daughter Jennifer. What have we learned from regrets? Is it that after each regret, you have a chance to better understand yourself, and then be able to make better decisions? We take responsibility for our own lives. No one else but you. Only you can decide whether this life is happy or unhappy. Be grateful for the regret and sincerely love it, because it is it that you can make better decisions in the future. Never waste time on things that cannot be changed.